This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game.
Hi, my name is Chris, and this is my Sigarda Host of Herons deck. So this is a deck, obviously, there's a lot of Sigarda decks that exist out there. Kind of the way that you traditionally see them is very Voltron. I kind of got away from that a little bit with this deck. The major functions of the deck are durability, evasion, just kind of the focusing on being sort of an immovable object. So that's nice altered Sigarda that we got there. I went a little light on the land curve. Mostly only 34 lands. Handful of basics, but you also have Temple of the False God, Strip Mine, great for utility. Destroy land when you need it. Homeward Path kind of plays to the mechanic. If for some reason something I have is taken, it gives me a chance to recover it. Serra Sanctum, this deck does usually end up being pretty heavy on a lot of enchantments, so it's usually more worth it than not. Temple of Plenty, Scry, some basic dual lands, man land, late game cycling, command tower, don't really need to talk about that. Sunpetal, Arcane Lighthouse, kind of a theme of the deck is being hexproof, and with that preventing other people from being hexproof, so that's why that's in there. Dual land, Opal Palace, Temple Garden, another bounce land to go with Temple of the False God. As many dual colored lands as I could. Hunted Fengraf. There's not a lot of recursion in here, but occasionally it does come in helpful. It's not really necessary. Usually, if I'm losing my stuff, it's getting exiled. Karoo, which is not ideal, but again, a 2-for-1 land. Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds. Jingle Basin, another Karoo land. Getting into kind of the mana ramp package. This is one that's usually pretty useful. Mirari's Wake. Not really worried about the +1/+1, but the double mana. This is a very mana consuming deck. A lot of expensive cards, so Mirari's Wake definitely comes in handy. Explosive Vegetation, Cultivate, Llanowar Elves. Tried to generally stay away from creature-based mana sources, but there are a couple in here. Kodama's Reach, just like Cultivate, a Harrow. So you can see just as much ramp as I could run in early game. Soul Ring, pretty standard. Darksteel Ingot, obviously just a regular mana rock, but plays to the indestructible mechanic that's there. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Llanowar Elves in white. It's good utility, but nothing special. Yavimaya Elder, obviously it's good for the card draw, but it also plays into the ramp. And here you'll get into a couple cards that are more utility. Solemn Simulacrum, Pelakka Wurm. It's good for a little bit of life gain. This deck is generally pretty light on life gain. It usually doesn't come. It's usually not required, but occasionally it's helpful, and obviously draw a card. Lifeblood Hydra is a pretty useful card that I added recently. The life gain is nice, but obviously this deck is a little light on card draw, so you'll see that's one of the primary sources of card draw in the deck. Savala Explorer. This is actually an alternate general. I'll play with one of 3 generals, Sigarda primarily, and it's built around Sigarda. But Savala Explorer Returned is it's nice. It's certainly a little more casual, and it's not the 5-alarm fire that most people usually see in Sigarda. It's a little bit insidious in the sense that when you're looking, when everyone's being gifted the card draw, no one really worries about the life gain and the mana it adds you. So it's a little bit insidious in that sense, and I think it's incredible value for what she does at 3 mana. In a 2/4, she's not completely useless for blocking. So that card's usually pretty useful. It never goes a turn without being used, and usually it's people don't go after it aggressively because it is a little helpful. Asceticism, kind of getting into some of the evasion mechanics that are not creature based, obviously gives creatures hexproof, which is nice. You're going to see a lot of hexproof and indestructibility mechanics, a lot of evasion, durability. That's largely the name of the game. So along with the hexproof, the regenerate sort of adds to the durability, and you're going to see a lot of that as we move on. Privileged position, similar to an asceticism, but giving all permanents hexproof, which is great with being able to cover up some of the other enchantments that would otherwise be targetable. And at 5 mana, absolutely worth it. Spirit of the Hearth, and there's a couple that provide this mechanic. Personal hexproof. It's useful periodically. It's sometimes more trouble than it's worth. Sometimes you don't get the value out of it that you want, but when you do get to use it, it's pretty fun. Leyline of Sanctity, kind of the same thing as Spirit of the Hearth. Occasionally you get to free cast it on turn 1. Getting into some of the controlling mechanics, just sort of locking down the board and reducing the opponent's ability to cast on your turn, and there's a couple different things that'll do this. Angelic Arbiter, preventing opponents from going into combat or casting. Grand Abolisher, another great card, prevents people from really doing anything at instant speed during your turn. So activating abilities of artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. And kind of in line with that, you've got Dragonlord Dromoka. It's nice because it can't be countered. And sort of in line with that, with the Grand Abolisher, it prevents your opponents from casting spells on your turn. So, a couple Umbras you'll see here. Snake Umbra, which is another source of card draw, which is nice, but it also provides a layer of durability for some of the creatures that aren't indestructible, or some creatures that were targeted with destruction mechanics. Bear Umbra, kind of the same thing. Also kind of plays into the ramp package. So really just sort of accelerating that mana, because typically when you want to get there fast, obviously, and be able to get your big stuff out quick, which you'll see a lot of. Gift of Immortality, another one of my favorite enchantments. Very tricky, gives an incredible layer of durability to pretty much anything, and it keeps coming back. So unless your opponent can find a way to exile it, which hopefully it's hexproof, really just an annoying card to play with. Indestructibility, one of the nice things of it is you can opt to not put it on a creature and instead put it on a permanent. So a lot of times what I'll do is, if I have the opportunity, I'll take indestructibility and put it on privileged position, and that way that's covered and everything else is hexproof. So in a lot of senses, I'm in control of how I engage my creatures at that point. Darksteel Plate, kind of the same thing. It's got the added benefit of being indestructible itself, which is nice, and obviously bestows indestructibility for a pretty reasonable price at only 2 to equip. Pariah Shield, You'll find a couple mechanics like that, like this. There's a creature with a similar ability. Redirects all damage dealt to me to target creature, as there's a ton of indestructible creatures in the deck. Usually I'll be looking to put that on an indestructible creature and effectively make myself indestructible in a sense. Evasion, you'll forgive me if I didn't put it with the lands, but Maze of Ith, pretty clutch card. Always comes in useful. Is always way more useful than its card space in the deck. So very few decks can't be helped with a Maze of Ith. So super helpful there. Another sort of tricky evasion. Mother of Runes. She's always good at protecting herself or whoever happens to be the target of something. So, and that's nice because it'll get around if there's some targeted exile that would otherwise get through indestructibility. She's great at avoiding that. So, Comeuppance, it's one of the few fog type. It may be the only fog type card in the deck, but it at 4 it's certainly expensive. You have to be prepared for it, but incredibly powerful. Can certainly be a game changer if you catch your opponents really trying to swing for the fences. Prevent all damage and pretty much bounce it back to its source, whether that source came from a creature or the opponent casts a spell. You can if somebody's dealing you direct damage, you can give them a pretty good hit if you can time this right. So getting into some of the removal stuff, Path to Exile, it's cheap when you got to do it. It's a great card to play. There's not too much creature removal. There are a couple others, but for the most part, I wanted to focus on artifact enchantment removal and control that side of the board, and leave the creature side of it to my indestructible mechanic, and sort of let people crash against my creatures while their board state was whittled away. Relic Crush, you'll see a lot of the places I went for more expensive cards that would do double duty. So obviously Relic Crush at 5 is expensive. It can be troublesome sometimes, but the benefit of being able to get 2 in one shot is quite nice, and in an EDH game it's always useful. Revoke Existence, exile target artifact or enchantment. Obviously the huge benefit of this is it'll take any of the gods dead to rights, and exile anything that happens to be indestructible. So I thought that was pretty useful. You seem to see a lot of gods in EDH, so always nice to have a exile mechanic. Kind of in line with that, Return to Dust. A little bit more expensive, but obviously you have the opportunity of exiling 2, which is pretty profound. And creature removal, Condemn, obviously pretty nice because it can tuck. So assuming you're not talking about a general, I hate the fact that they changed that rule. So there's that. Some more artifact enchantment removal, aura shards. This has the added benefit of being repeatable. You can certainly clean up a lot with this if you're in the right position. Oblation, another tuck card, great great at removing any permanent on the board. And in a pinch, if you absolutely have to, you can throw away one of your trash cards, and it's good for card draw, which is certainly helpful sometimes in this deck. One of the few recursion cards in this deck, Profound Journey. Obviously quite expensive at 7. And again, the reason I went with this instead of, say, an Ewit was the fact that it rebounds, and the fact that it comes back to the battlefield ready to go. So obviously quite powerful, quite expensive at 7, but again, that's largely why there was such a large ramp package that we looked at to sort of pay for sort of these premium cards. Nature Spiral, another returns a permanent to your hand at 2. It's the only other recursion card, so you kind of have to be careful using it, but when you need it, it's great. Getting into some of the creatures, Thrune really sort of epitomizes everything that the deck, that I want the deck to be. Can't be countered, is built-in hexproof and regenerates. The only thing I could ask is if he was indestructible instead of regenerating, but you know, really just a great soldier on the deck. You know, super durable, great for a lot of things. Aegis Angel, you know, flying is not herself indestructible, but can bestow indestructibility on something, which, you know, generally speaking, that will go on Sigarda pretty most of the time, unless privileged position or some kind of enchantment that's worth it is on the board. But very often that's layering Sigarda to give her that level of indestructibility. Soul of New Phyrexia, super helpful, spot indestructibility, and should it ever, you know, wind up in your graveyard, you know, you can use it from there too. So I was really excited to see this card come out in M15. Definitely plays into the mechanic of the deck, and you know, a 6/6 trample is no slouch either. So it's not like it can't be used. It's, you know, it's great at moving around the board. Instant speed, indestructibility. Usually you can count on having the 5 mana if you're thinking about it to do it at a moment's notice. Another soldier in the deck. You know, Konda, Lord of Ivanhoe, you know, just a great sort of pillar of the deck. He's not going to win you anything, but he's great on defense, and the vigilance is nice. You know, occasionally, you know, if somebody lets him, if somebody has their guard down and you can, you know, catch somebody with an 8/8, it's, you know, works out great. Palisade Giant, this, you know, is the same mechanic as the Pariah Shield. All damage is dealt to it. So whereas the Pariah Shield, I'm looking to put it on an indestructible creature, I'm obviously looking to get some level of indestructibility on the Palisade Giant to be able to redirect all the damage from myself to her. Karametra, this is another one that I'll periodically utilize as the general. Could easily put it into the ramp section. Obviously, it's great for spitting out a lot of lands. You know, you'll always have, you know, all the lands you need when you're playing with Karametra, and obviously indestructible. So you'll see a couple other gods in here, simply because the indestructibility and their added benefits are obviously great. So another great, just, you know, just kind of run-of-the-mill card in the deck, but you know, good for spot indestructibility for all your creatures. So unexpected board wipe, you know, he's always willing to lay down. Gideon, you know, if any planeswalker plays into this mechanic, it's kind of Gideon. For the most part, he's, you know, just a creature. You know, that's kind of why I put him with the creature. He 9 times out of 10, that's all he'll do is just do his creature mechanic all day long and just be an indestructible creature. The exile all permanents obviously is a terrible thing to do. You know, really drags out the game, but you know, in a pinch, if you got to do it, it's there if you need it, and with him, he very often has that many counters on him, so he's kind of usually ready to go. Heliod, the vigilance that he provides is huge. Obviously, he's indestructible. You know, and all of these gods, they play into the Serra Sanctum mechanic, being indestructible enchantments. They're very likely to be sticking around. But obviously his vigilance is great. I almost never cast creatures with him, but if in a pinch, if you need a spot blocker, that's there and that's available. So it's nice to have that. Transcendent Master, obviously, usually levels up pretty quickly. Source of Lifelink, which Lifelink is pretty rare in this deck. So, and obviously is indestructible. Nylea, again, indestructible enchantment, and has the benefit of giving trample, which can be useful in this deck. There's only a few occurrences of that. And the +2/+2 can be useful in a pinch. Spearbreaker Behemoth, he himself is indestructible, and he gives indestructibility, which for creature power 5 or greater, which you'll see most of the stuff that's worth keeping around in this deck is going to be the 5 or greaters. Fleece Mane Lion is one of my great early cards. It's one of my few early cards. I usually bank on my ramp package to get pretty well off pretty quick, but he's great, and and at 7 for a 4/4 indestructible hexproof, he's a great little card. Vengevine, kind of durable in another sense without indestructibility. Obviously, he's got a habit of coming back over and over again. So he's one of the few cards that will end up in the graveyard regularly. Predator Ooze, another great cheap card. Has the potential to get bigger quickly, but or I guess over time. But for the most part, indestructibility great. And then indestructibility wouldn't be too much fun without a handful of board wipes. Sunblast Angel, it's a little unfortunate because you have to time it, but usually there's always a good moment to cast a Sunblast Angel. Day of Judgment, all the creatures. Akroma's Vengeance can be certainly devastating. Occasionally you can use it for the cycling, but being able to get the artifacts, the creatures, and the enchantments, again, you're going to have a lot of cases of indestructibility over there, so that helps. Austere Command, a lot of flexibility here. You can go a lot of different ways, but definitely good to clean up the board, when you don't like the state. Nova Blast Worm. If you've got Avacyn, who we'll get to in a second, this is a great card, or the Soul of New Phyrexia, is a great card just to do this over and over again. You can just sort of completely lock down your opponents with this. So this is sort of a game-ending card right here. Another win condition, Overwhelming Stampede, very often gets it done. If you can wind up with a big creature and give 6 or 7, +8, +10, definitely good to shut the game down. Ajani, Mentor of Heroes. If you can pull off his ultimate, it's great, and usually just his first 2 abilities, it's nice that he has 2 that give him +1. Both of them are consistently useful in this deck. Obviously, being able to search a little bit through your deck is a huge benefit. Kozilek, is obviously a great win condition. At 10, you'll have plenty of mana to cast him, and he does provide the card draw. 12/12 Annihilator 4 is great. But really, the primary reason he's in this deck is part of the obviously the draw cards and the shuffle back mechanic. In the rare instance where somebody might try and mill you, this deck has sort of a safeguard against that, unless it happens to be in your hand or exiled or something like that. But great at protecting you. Elspeth, kind of with in line with Avacyn, who's coming up. The only reason, her abilities are great, but ultimately it comes down to trying to get off that ultimate. So that's largely the reason she's in there. Avacyn, this deck obviously wouldn't be complete without her. Makes everything indestructible. She herself is vigilant. Absolutely locks up the board if you can get the majority of your board state hexproof and indestructible. You're not going to fear much, and people are going to have a tough time doing anything with you. And then lastly, Vengeful Archon. Great because it not only can absorb the damage for whatever colorless you can pay into it, but it can also redirect it to the player dealing it. So that's one of the cards that can end the game quick in a hurry. So that's my Sigarda deck. She, you know, usually is good for a while. Thanks for watching CMDR decks. Please like and favorite.